And we are back. Oh my goodness, it's been a while since I have been here with you guys. Welcome, everyone. Oh, Anthony's in the chat, so it's Truth Defenders. See my wonderful wife. So today is the first day of Ramadan.
Oops, sorry.
So we started with that. So, Yusuf, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit? Here's for the people who are not familiar with you.
Yes, my name is Yusuf. I am from a Muslim background. Came to Christ, left Islam, came to Christ, thank God. And it's been the best 4 years of my life so far. And I know there are many, many, many to come with Christ. So
Amen.
I'm looking forward to that.
Amen. Amen. So today we're talking about fasting. We're looking at Christian fasting versus Ramadan. And please excuse me, my voice might be a little rough today because I'm still getting over this stupid sickness that's had me out for a couple of weeks, which was annoying. I kept seeing everyone posting. I'm like, I got to get back in that, man. Okay, put me back in, Chief. I'm good. I can do it.
I thought it's because you were fasting.
Oh no, actually, I mentioned it to my wife earlier. Said, you know what? I haven't actually eaten anything today because of the sickness. There's been quite a few days that I just didn't eat or drink for all day long, and it's like,
Right.
Not a big deal.
You'll need water then.
Yeah, well, I might not be the best when it comes to drinking water.
Right.
Okay, at least that's what my wife tells me. I need to
the
drink
only one.
more all the time.
You're not the only one.
So, yeah. So we're talking about fasting, and of course, here are a bunch of Muslims fasting during Ramadan. Yes, you can never tell. Personally, I could never tell if they were fasting or not.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like fasting.
It looks like fasting. So, when you are a Christian, and I grew up Christian, I did a lot of fasting in my teenage years. Definitely when I was searching for the truth itself, I was doing a lot of fasting, doing a lot of soul searching. Yes, drink water. Absolutely. For those kidney health. So my wife glares at me. So yeah, so I've done a lot of fasting even before I started looking into Islam. Really didn't understand Ramadan when I just did a brief study into Islam itself. I didn't understand this concept. Whenever people use terms, my shortcoming is sometimes I will assume that they mean the same thing I do. So when they say fasting, I think, oh, they mean fasting. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as I used to do, where I would go a couple days without eating or drinking, multiple days in a row. No big deal. Actually, whenever I fasted in the past, the second day gets annoying. The third day is the hump day, which is like, okay, if you haven't eaten or drunk in 3 days, that's where it gets really difficult to push it through and actually finish out. But as far as Christianity, when it comes to Christianity, the concept of fasting can be anything. I mean, whatever you're doing, you take a break from that, and whatever time you would invest in, let's say, eating or drinking, whenever mealtime comes around, instead you spend that time in prayer, in the Word, or you can even do that for TV. I've done that fasting from entertainment before, where whenever I would go and play a video game, instead of playing a video game, I'd spend that time in prayer, reading the Bible, fasting. So that's the concept in Christianity, more or less, is whenever you do this, you can do it on anything, but you're doing it with intent to grow closer to the Lord. In fact, Jesus had a very interesting teaching that we see here in Matthew 16:18. And now this is very, very relevant for Muslims.
All right.
Because this is where Jesus tells them, do not be like the hypocrites. Do not look gloomy. Do not look miserable. You know what? Even when I've fasted now, there's a lot of times that I won't tell anyone, including my wife, unless she's making dinner.
Right.
Only a need to know, right? So I'll only tell her if she needs to know that I'm fasting. But if I'm fasting breakfast, lunch, those sort of time periods, I don't need to tell her. She doesn't need to know that I'm fasting necessarily, unless she wants to join me in that fast. So no, you don't do it, because again, Jesus says that they have already received the reward. But when you fast, so this is an order to the Christians, when you fast, you make it look like you are not. You wash your face, you have a good attitude about it, you don't mention it, and the Father himself, who sees in secret, will reward you accordingly.
Amen.
The purpose of the fast is not for your own glorification, but to really dedicate yourself to a purpose, whatever that would be. At least that's my understanding of it. Yusuf, would you like to add anything to it, or give any?
Yes, actually, this passage that you showed in the book of Matthew is very, very. It has a big impact on me, because growing up as a Muslim, of course, I grew up in Saudi Arabia. We don't have Bibles. You get caught with a Bible, you get in a lot of trouble. I don't know about now, people with phones and iPads, and they have all these devices that they can download the Bible app in it. I don't know how they will get caught with it, right? But if you have at least my time there, if you get caught with a physical Bible, like a paper printed Bible, you get in a lot of trouble. So I didn't have a chance to read the Bible, even if I wanted to. Not that I wanted to when I was there, but even if I wanted to, I couldn't read it. Well, I mean, I know there is a way if I wanted to, but most people don't get the chance to read it. When I finally got to read the Bible, and I got to this passage, and of course it talks about prayers, it talks about charity or giving, right? And well, giving is like kind of like Islam, right? And then when, especially with prayers and fasting, this is when I had to stop and read it again and read it and again and again and again, because I could not get it, only because it was convicting me personally. Because you look at the passage, what I used to do as a Muslim when I fasted, I let everyone know that I'm fasting. Actually, if I was in the street somewhere, and I'm not talking about in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, everyone is fasting. But let's say I'm in a non-Muslim country, and there was a person eating next to me. This person, I would feel like they are supposed to hide their food because I'm fasting. Like they're supposed to know that I'm fasting. And actually, if you think about it, the whole world know that Muslims fast in Ramadan. All right. So it's not only, as you said, you fast as a Christian. Most of the times your wife does not know that you're fasting. As a Muslim, the whole world know about you fasting. Right? And on top of that, and anyone who grew up in a Muslim country will know this, they cannot deny it, that on top of the whole world knowing about you fasting because it's Ramadan, and on top of people around you, because you're in a Muslim country, everyone is fasting, all stores are closed and all of that. On top of that, you because you are gloomy, all right? Because you are not yourself, you're hungry, and you're showing that you're hungry, you're dehydrated, and everything will get you so upset. You get this temper, like, you just want to fight. They have a prayer, which I said it many, many, many times when I was Muslim. And they say, "Oh God, Allahumma, oh God, I am fasting," as if God does not know that you're fasting. But you're not telling God that you're fasting. You're telling the person you're talking to. And that prayer actually means, please stay away from me because I don't want to break my fast on you. Literally, this is what it means. Don't piss me off. I'm sorry. Don't get me mad so I don't break my fast on you by cussing you out, by hitting you, because when you're fasting, you're supposed to not cuss, not hit anyone, not to get in trouble, not to abuse anyone verbally or physically, right? It's supposed to be not only about eating or drinking. But again, they will say, "God, I am fasting," but they're talking to the person in front of them, meaning, just leave me alone. Let me continue my fasting. Let me not break my fasting. This is what they mean. But back to the passage. This is what I really, it touched me, because the Lord Jesus Christ says, "Do not be gloomy. Do not show that you're fasting. When you fast, but," okay, so verse 17. "But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face." Basically, don't show that you're fasting. As you just said, your own wife does not know that you're fasting, unless something happens that she will know. Like, she will ask you if you want to have lunch first day. And this is at least with my wife. I don't tell her that I'm fasting, but she would ask, "Hey, lunch is ready. You want to come eat? Or dinner is ready. You want to come eat?" And I go, "No, I'm good." Okay, next day, "Hey, dinner is ready. You want to eat?" I go like, "No, I'm good." Then she knows that I'm fasting. She doesn't have to ask me, right? So, yeah, anoint your head, wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others. Well, if others see it, you already got your reward, right? So again, this is how I felt when I read it. Wow, everyone knows about me fasting. My family, I'm living with them. They know I'm fasting. I know about them. They're fasting. My whole village is fasting. My whole country is fasting. The whole ummah is fasting because it's Ramadan, right? Mm-hmm. So, and the whole world know about me. So yeah, it's very, very personal, this passage. I love it.
Yeah, that was something that was interesting whenever I started really studying Islam, or started really diving into Ramadan, and realizing, well, that you're not really fasting for the month, even though they say that they're fasting for the month. No, if a Christian says they're fasting for a month, that would mean the entire month, including the nights. No, not the same way. When we talk about Muslims fasting during Ramadan, they get to eat, they get to drink all night until the next morning. You got the first prayer, then you got to stop. And there's a trend that a lot of Muslims will do, which is just switch your days and nights. Just sleep during the day.
Right.
And stay up all night long. And again, fasting was something that was very important for me growing up. It was something that was holy, that was set aside, that I, like I said, did pretty often. To have it treated as just this milk toast, like we're so much better because we go 12 hours without eating and drinking. And I'm sitting there on day 3. I'm like, no, that's not the point. Not the point of, look at us. We're doing this. We are the greatest because we do this every year. We do it for a whole month. No, You're missing the point of what it is. You're taking something that is holy and tainting it.
Right.
And it's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for the Muslims. They have a big issue with overeating during Ramadan. If you look at the sales prices in the Middle East for food, I mean, for pity's sakes, last year they were terrified. Well, actually, the last 2 years they were terrified that they would run out of food during Ramadan. And I'm sitting there, but you're fasting. You're not supposed to be eating more. You're not supposed to be doing that. Even if I was just fasting, let's say lunch or breakfast and lunch would be a common fast that I would do. My dinner portion would be the same as if I was not fasting. I would not go out and eat more because that would defeat it. It
Right.
wouldn't help anything.
And when you're fasting, you're supposed to do things like you'll have to do things that it's either more prayers, you get into the word,
Mm-hmm.
you're fasting because you're trying to get closer and closer to God, not closer and closer to your pillow.
Yes.
Right. So
whenever I was working at a job site or whatever small job I had whenever I was younger, I'd go out as if I was going out just like I would to have lunch. But instead, I'd sit in my car and I'd pray or I'd read the word and then go back in as if I just came back from lunch itself.
Mm.
And none of my coworkers would know that I was fasting for that.
Right.
And again, it's a question of where the focus is. Is it on you personally, or is it on the Lord? Is it between you and God, or is it between you and everyone else?
Right.
And that's what we're really seeing during Ramadan, as well as again, just fast for 12 hours and then you're good to go.
And it
I find
varies.
that annoying.
And it varies from one place to another. It's not that you're praying, you're fasting for 12 hours. You're fasting from sunset or sunrise to sunset.
Yep.
So it might be longer, it might be shorter than 12 hours.
I think in my geographic region, I looked this up earlier. You can actually look it up online, put in your state and say, okay, this location here, when does the sun set and when does the sun rise? When can I eat and when can, when should I stop eating? When should I start eating? It's about 12 and a half hours.
Okay. All right.
For now. But again, that changes day to day.
Right.
That can alter.
Winter and summer too. So because they're not. So okay, last year Ramadan wasn't in February 28th. I think it was March something, mid March, I think, or something. I think it goes. I think it's like a week different every year, something like that. But because I remember in the year 2019, it was in May, something like that. Right. So I mean, because they go with the calendar, the Hijri, they call it Hijri calendar.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lunar calendar that moves according to the solar calendar that we use.
So, but again, like growing up in a Muslim country, you see a lot of things during this month that I never thought about when I was Muslim. I thought it was normal. But then after I left Islam and I look back at these things, maybe a little bit before I left Islam, maybe that this is one of the things that led me to leave Islam. Thinking, meaning not Ramadan, but thinking. But one of the things that I thought about, and I thought a lot about these things, is the whole system changes in Ramadan in a Muslim country, meaning even schools start later. Like schools won't start during Ramadan. School won't start until 9:30 maybe, when usually it starts at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it ends yeah, it ends a little bit later, but again, the reason why is that you have something to do during the day. You go home, let's say at 2 or 3, you have a couple hours to sleep, and then by 5 or 6 in the evening, it's time to eat. Right? Work, the company that hires you, they have to change the timing when it comes to the month of Ramadan. All the stores are closed during the day. When you go shopping, like I remember going with my dad to a grocery store. We used to go maybe once a week during the year. Now in Ramadan, we'll go maybe 3 times a week. We used to pull one cart with us during the year. In Ramadan, we'll pull 3 of them. Right? So it's a big difference. Like the whole, even the smell outside. You don't have to be in a house. You go for a walk.
Nope.
You would smell this, like the whole atmosphere smells like fried food. And I kid you not, like it's overwhelming. Like it feels like if you're outside, it feels like you're inside the kitchen frying food. That's how bad it is.
That's interesting because one of the things that I know happens as you're fasting, definitely over a long period of time, is you start to stink. You start to stink. I don't know what part of the body it is that does that. It's pretty nasty, at least in my experience. It can be pretty nasty. But again, that's longer than 12 hours we're talking about.
Right.
So it sounds like 12 hours and you smell like fried food.
Well, I mean, it's not.
Again, it's interesting. So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not you smelling, but the outside smells like that because everyone is frying food. Because what they do is it's almost like Thanksgiving every night. It's I mean, if you think of Thanksgiving right now, and you think about turkey, right? Once you, like, after dinner that night, you don't want to smell food for like a whole week. Right? You feel like you're gonna get sick when you but yeah, look at the food. It's all unhealthy. I mean, yes, it looks good. It looks it looks, the tables are designed nicely, and those are all like pictures. I mean, it's not like this in every house, right? So
yeah.
And there is a nice thing about it when you're sending your children with a plate. Hey, take it to the neighbor. Right? So I'm not saying it's all bad, right? But you're driving to your uncle's house, taking food for them. You're getting a plate from your uncle's house. Your neighbors are getting food from you. You're getting food from your neighbors. It's like everyone is giving everyone. That's cute, like that's nice. But what about the not fasting? Like no one is fasting because they're eating all night. They're eating until they cannot eat anymore. And it's not because they're full. It's because it's time that they cannot eat. So it gets pretty bad. People get weight. They gain weight, a lot of weight during that month. Businesses make a lot of money during that month. So yeah, it gets crazy.
Yeah, I've seen the number of sales for food in the Middle East area during that time period always spikes during Ramadan. And it's like, that again, that should be the opposite. They should be hardly selling anything because you don't have any meals. So,
And we
but
know what
yeah,
they tell you? They tell you it's a blessing from Allah.
yeah, but it's not healthy. It's
Oh,
not a healthy blessing.
No, you're asking about how are they making more money?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they will
I see
say
what you're
this
saying.
money that we're making, it's a blessing from Allah. Yeah, so it's completely different. It's completely different when you're talking about fasting as a Christian, or fasting in Christianity and fasting in Islam. Now, I like how
Yes.
like how David would call it feasting.
And trans fasting.
Right.
Trans fasting is fasting. Not really. But yeah, that's the sort of concept. Again, guys, if you're talking with Muslims, you need to make sure that you have the same definition when it comes to these things. Because I've had many conversations that have been caught off guard when I realize we're not talking about the same thing.
Right.
That's not only with Muslims, that's just in general. Make sure your terms are the same. So the answer is, you know what? Muslims don't really ever fast, truly. They just act like they do for the accolades, for the goodie points. And again, that robs them and it robs their health. When it comes down to it, it's not good. Think about it, Thanksgiving dinner every night for 30 days. I mean, one Thanksgiving is enough for me a year.
Right.
And even then, well, I have two. So I go my wife's family and my family. So I normally eat skimpy at one and then eat normal at the other. But still, that's a lot of food every single night, and it's kind of expected that this is a thing that happens and everyone's eating. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not good. Although now, according to the calendar, now I can eat.
Oh.
It was 6:31.
We should have had this live stream outside, so we showed them that we were not fasting, so they see the daylight.
That's true. You can look at the calendar. It says 6:31. It said that I'm okay eating now, so now I can eat and drink. Which again, I wasn't meaning to fast today, but I looked at my wife and said, oh, I haven't actually eaten anything today. And again, that wouldn't be, even in Christianity, that wouldn't be fasting anyway, because it's not with intent.
Right.
Intent matters.
Right.
But again, it's not, during time I've been sick, not a big deal. Going 12, 13, 14 hours, no eat. So what?
Plus, you're not in Christianity. You're not doing it. First of all, you don't have to do it.
No, it's not forced.
Yes, it's not by force. There is no specific time that you have to do it. So you do it by choice. You do it as long as you want, as short as you want. You do it with what do you want to stop doing? Like, as you said earlier, like it's not just food and drinks. It's not food and water. We have a great example of Jesus in the wilderness, 40 days without food, without water. Right. So
that wasn't eating every night. That was period.
Right. It's not. Oh, you wait until you hear the prayer calling. As a matter of fact, everyone during the prayer calling is standing outside waiting on the first word. As soon as they heard the microphones say, or the speakers, and the city, because you can hear the calling from all over the city, or wherever you're living, right? So you go outside whenever it gets a little bit dark, and you wait on this calling with usually with a glass of water, or you go back inside and say, hey, I just heard it, let's eat, it's time to eat. It's like they even when they're fasting, they're not, it seems like we cannot wait until this time is over so we can eat. I know this can be a joke, right? What I'm gonna say next. It's for drunks in Muslim countries, people who drink alcohol. I know it's everyone hears that in the Middle East there is no alcohol. It's like, yeah, I grew up in a country where alcohol is illegal, so you cannot buy or sell it. You're not going to a store to buy a bottle. It's like it's just like buying drugs in most states here, right? But people who drink actually stop drinking 40 days before Ramadan. So they have it in their calendar. 40 days before Ramadan starts, they will drink like there is no tomorrow, because they cannot drink for 40 days plus 30 days of Ramadan. That's a lot of days. Alcohol goes really cheap during Ramadan because those who sell alcohol, they don't have room on the shelf, right? They try to get rid of their product. And then Eid comes after the 30th day of Ramadan. There is this celebration, Eid. And then alcohol prices go triple. Yeah, because everyone is buying it. So, I mean, yes, I know this is not an ideal Muslim thing, but even those who don't follow, so they're drinking, so basically they're Muslims just by name, right? But because it's a culture that they're fasting, they have to be fasting. Even those who drink, who don't care about the religion, they still fast during Ramadan. Some don't, but most of them do. And yeah, they put it in their calendar, like, oh, we cannot drink 40 days before that. Oh, it's 39 days. Oh, we messed up. What do we do now? Right? So
well, it's also so Ramadan itself is so important to make sure that you in Islam to make sure that you do it, that it can outweigh a lot of the bad that you've done leading up to it.
Yes.
Again, we're talking about a works-based salvation concept that even if you were drinking right beforehand, if it's the night of power and you do it during the night of power, and you do it perfectly during the night of power, that's like 1,000 years of good deeds. So now you're clear. No one knows when that night power is, but got to be safe.
Yeah, that's
right?
how important it is. That night, the night of power. No one know. I mean, it's so important that Muhammad didn't even tell his people when it's going to be or when it is during Ramadan. So all what he tells them is it's one of the last 10 days of Ramadan, and it's an odd number. So it's either the 21st, 23rd, 25th, So you have people doing the rituals that they're supposed to do during every odd date during the last 10 days. They'll do it again and again all night. So because they don't know when it is. Yeah.
That is still, again, the concept of going from Christianity, where we have salvation not because of any act of our own, but because of the grace and love of God Himself, to, oh no, I need to do this perfectly. If I don't do this perfectly, I'm going to hell. My good deeds are not going to outweigh my bad deeds.
Right.
And I got to make sure I work for them. Was very alien when I started diving in and realizing it was just all works based. Very strange. And of course, there's works that are better than others, like we were talking about the Knight of Power, whenever that may be.
Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've answered the question if fasting. Well, the question was Ramadan versus Christian fasting, which one is harder? I think the answer is Ramadan's just a show. It's just a sham. When it comes to actual fasting, I guess Christianity would be harder in a way, but again, it's not a measuring. According to Christianity, it's not a measuring stick who is doing it better. It is between you and God, and that's where it should be.
Right.
It's just simply there. So, do you have any other interesting tidbits from past Ramadan experiences?
Maybe verses of the Quran would that talk
Sure.
about that talk about fasting. For example, the let's say 2:183 in the Quran. Yeah, if you want to look it up and
Yes.
share it with people, that talks about how fasting is a must for Muslims, or they're ordered to fast Ramadan, just like the people before them, meaning the believers before them, Christians, Jews, right?
But again, the fasting is so different compared to what Jesus taught on how to fast. But then again, Muhammad didn't realize this, nor did Muhammad realize that there were different time zones or places on the earth that the sun actually never sets, which can be a bit of an issue.
Right.
Considering it doesn't set for 6 months.
So if you go to the next verse, this verse just says that people before you fasted. Again, it's a different kind of fasting. It's but then the next verse it says it's counted days. Let me look it up here.
Okay, right here.
Oh, you got it.
Oh, right here. Yep.
Yeah, so it's prescribed number of days. Whoever is ill or on a journey, traveling, they don't have to fast. But again, they have to make up for these days. And they have to make up for these days before the next Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. You were asking about experiences growing up in a Muslim country. So so let's say now Ramadan and I miss a day. After this Ramadan, I'll have to fast. I'll have to make up this day before the next Ramadan. But because I don't want to, I have to, but I don't want to do it. So I have to, or most people will wait until the days are shorter. So they play it smart, right? So they're like, what kind of religion is that? Like, you're fooling your own God. It's like,
you're being cheap. Try and cheap them out.
I wait until it's until the day is shorter, and then I fast. I wait until maybe I have a day off. Maybe it's a weekend. I don't have to go work. Maybe it's not as hot. It's like literally like you're cheating your God.
Well, again, coming from the mindset of, again, Christianity, it's something you willingly do. It's a decision you make between you and God. In order to make it matter more, I'd go out of my way to make it harder for myself for whatever I'm giving up. Like, for example, I use one of the things I would do would be gaming. I was a big gamer, still am, but I would give up gaming for that. I would wait. One of the things that I would do if there's some big decision that I wanted to fast for, or time that I really wanted to dive in, or important decision coming up, I would choose when a game released. To then, I own the game. It's here in my hand. I'm not going to play it for the next week because I'm fasting it. And every time I see the game and want to go jump on it, that's an indication that I need to spend time in prayer. You spend time in the Word. I've purposely made it harder for myself in order to put the focus more on the fasting, and the same with food and such. But again, it's such an alien concept when you are doing it willingly, and when you're required to do it, you have to do it, and you try to find the easiest and simplest way to get around it.
Now, this verse here that we're looking at has a problem. Says compensation can be made by feeding a needy person. Where, so if you skip a day or miss a day, you can go ahead and feed a needy person. Where some Quran says needy people.
Warsh. This
Yes.
is Hafs. Warsh
Yes.
says many people.
Yes.
So it just says people in general compared to one person.
Yes.
I'm so glad you pulled this one up, because I do remember doing that study. It's like, if this is your eternal soul here, which one's right? That's an issue.
Then says, but whoever volunteers to give more, well, sorry, but they're not volunteering to do it because they're trying to find the shorter days to do it because they don't want to do it. It's better for them to fast or whatever. So yeah. The few verses after, let me see. I have it in my note here. I have it in Arabic. I could have shared it with you, but hey, it's in Arabic. 185 says, the month of Ramadan, the Quran was sent or completed. Here you go. Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed as a guide for humanity. So a lot of scholars will say that the Quran was completed in Ramadan. But again, like if you try to get details, how was it completed in Ramadan? Because the Quran was supposedly revealed to Muhammad in
Piecemeal.
Yeah, so I think it took 12 years?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was like 9 or 12 years, and sometimes every day, sometimes every couple hours he will get a revelation, sometimes he will go months without revelation. So again, I don't know how Ramadan or the Quran would be completed in or during this month. Is it the last
last revelation?
Yeah, the last verse of the Quran that was revealed to Muhammad during Ramadan, and boom, here's the completion of the Quran. But because of this verse, Muslims will actually they have 30 days of Ramadan. There is 30 not chapters, but 30 sections of the 30 sections in the Quran. they'll try to read one section, which is, I mean, it's not, it takes like 30 minutes to finish. So they read a section every night after they break their fast. And by the end of the month, they completed the whole Quran. I mean, the Quran is not a big book.
No, it's
But
not.
again, it's an accomplishment when they say, yeah, I'm surprised it's not missing pages.
Actually, this one
Oh
is.
no, don't don't keep it. Oh, it is missing. So, but yeah, I mean, some people will read the Quran, will read it more than one time, will complete the Quran more than one time. I growing up, actually, we were competing with each other. We were young. Me and my friends will be competing with each other. Hey, how many times did you complete the Quran this month or this year, this Ramadan? Meaning that when I say this year, the whole year we don't touch the Quran. During that month, we'll try to complete the whole thing. That's why we feel like we did something really good. Which, I mean, the Quran, again, it's not a big book. You can read it within half a day if you keep reading it. If you keep reading nonstop. Actually, there was a guy, Chris at Speaker's Corner, the guy from England, the UK. He actually read the whole Quran in one live stream that took like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a big book. I'm talking about like 114 chapters.
Definitely when you compare it to the Bible, which
Right.
is quite a bit larger,
Mm.
but yet they will claim that you haven't. They've memorized the entire thing. So it sounds like, in some cases they only pick it up once a year.
And
Some
they will
do
compete
more often.
Yeah, and they will compete. They have tournaments actually for reciting the Quran. But my question is, do you Muslims have competitions, or do you have tournaments, as you call them, for understanding the Quran?
That was the next thing. You say you recite the Quran, but if you recite it without understanding, which has been my experience with 99% of the Muslims out there, they don't know what is actually said there. They're just reciting words. They're just going on and on and on, just chatty, without any understanding. That means nothing. That's empty. There's nothing actually there. There's nothing of substance. And again, as I've said before, you're staking your eternal soul on this thing, and you're just going through the motions. It's a bit important.
All right. Do you want to see something really crazy about those verses that we're looking at, and that will show you a little bit of how they don't understand the Quran? They recite it, but they don't understand anything about it. If you go
this
to
verse itself seems to be a contradiction. So,
but if you go to verse 187, to 187 of the Quran. I mean, the English is butchered, but I'll try to show something, and I'll try to make it simple. But it is crazy how most translations don't get it, and even the ones that are, like, for example, even Osama's translation is missing it, and I get it, because that's how it's translated in most of the Qurans. But I think it's supposed to be more honest than this. It has been made permissible for you to be intimate. This word intimate, if you go to the Arabic, go up a little bit. So A little bit more.
Zoom out a
Oops.
little bit. There we go.
It's the next
the
verse.
wrong one. Went up. Okay.
Yes, this one. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth word from, of course, it's from the right. Yep, this one. Yep.
Right
this.
here.
The approach. It's not the approach. If I copy this word and go to a Arabic dictionary, which let me type it here. And the meaning is, let me copy and go to Google Translate. So I'm copying the meaning of it. I'm not copying the same word. I'm copying the meaning of it, and I'm translating the meaning. Let's see, Google Translate. Bear with me. Give me a second. So the meaning of it is, what is that? Obscenity in speech. It's not
obscenity in speech.
Yes, it's not the intercourse with your wife as they're translating it. So basically, this verse is telling Muslims that during the night, after they break their fast, they're allowed not only to have sexual intercourse as they're translating it in the English, is actually they're allowed to speak down. I mean, I don't know how to get it. Badmouth, exactly. Badmouth their wives while they're having sexual intercourse with them. I mean, you can copy it and, and paste it and check it for yourself, but that's what it means in Arabic.
Well, that, and even the verse that we were looking at before this, talking about those who need to make up for not fasting. One of the things that can make you break your fast if you're a woman is menstruating, which again is a normal biological process that Allah put in place. So you would have to make those up, not because you were unfaithful, but because Allah well screwed you over.
Right. Yeah. And this is a thing too. Last year at work, we had a course. We had a training course. We had me and 2 other guys were new to the team. So the company sent us to have a training. I do flooring. So there was the one of the bigger companies, flooring companies, they were offering training where I live. So the boss paid for it and sent us to do training. Well, most of the all of the guys actually that I work with, they're Muslims. It was in April last year, which was the last day of Ramadan. I think it was April 9th or 10th or something. So it was 2 days. First day is the last day of Ramadan. Second day was Eid day. So both guys were Muslims. One of the guys said, yes, I will be there. The other guy said, oh, I cannot be there because it's Ramadan. And the next day, so the boss said, what about the next day, the following day? He said, well, I cannot be there because it's Eid. I was like, well, the first day you cannot be there because you're fasting. The second day you cannot be there because you're not fasting. And, like, when can you be there? Right? So, but again, he ended up coming the first day. He said, I cannot show up the second day. It's a holiday for me. It's, I want to be with my family. My boss was like, that's fine. At least attend one day. So the company that was training us, they brought lunch for us. So during lunchtime, they said, hey, we brought lunch. You guys are welcome to have lunch, coffee. We have drinks and stuff like that. Well, the first guy that I was talking about didn't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to show you the two kinds of Muslims who fast. Some Muslims actually fast because of the relationship between them and their God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most Muslims don't, which is the second person that I'm talking about. The second person was like, "Oh, those people are so rude." So what do you mean? He said, "How dare they bring food during Ramadan?" Like, okay, don't eat. Yeah, but
I was about to say, were they at gunpoint? Was it like, you have to eat the sandwich or
right.
else,
Yeah.
or else I will kill you? It's like,
I was like, well,
geez,
they brought food. I mean, you don't have to eat. He said, yeah, but I see people when they know that I'm fasting, even if let's say they're smoking a cigarette by me, out of respect, they'll just throw the cigarette away. I'm like, yeah, that's probably he's from Libya. So I was like, yeah, that's probably in Libya. It's like not here. no one give a damn about you fasting. It's between you and your God, right? So that's yeah. This is an example. Like you're fasting because you want to have a relationship between you and your God. I don't care if you're fasting or not. You're not fasting for me. So if I'm bringing lunch, all what you can say is, you don't even have to tell me you're fasting. Oh, I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat. Again, as you said, no one's putting a gun in your head.
they're not going to kill you because you didn't eat the free lunch.
So yeah, I mean, you get examples like this. Maybe you deal with a lot of Muslims, so you kind of come across examples like this. I lived in a Muslim country I grew up in a Muslim country where I have many, many, many examples of this. Some of the people that are watching maybe never had such an experience with Muslims. So, for people those who are watching to understand how, yes, there are people who are still fasting because of Muslims who are still fasting because they want to have a relationship with their God. They don't want to show you that they're. Yes, I know it's Ramadan. Everyone knows that they're fasting. But I said this example because of women who have their periods during the month, when they cannot fast, right? So the first guy asked the second guy. They're both Muslims. Said, "Well, you have a wife, right?" He said, "Yes." So, well, if she's in her week, she is not fasting. Does she have to keep fasting in front of you? Like she cannot eat in front of you? And he said, well, yes, she goes to the other room and eat if she wants to eat. Which is true. I mean, I grew up in a Muslim country. My family, like my mom, I have two sisters. When I grew up, I never seen them eat in front of me. They would go to a different room and eat because if they eat in front of me, that's more like it's pushing me not to keep fasting. And again, it's always her fault. Right? In Islam and everything. It's always her fault.
Yeah, again, that looking back at the times I've fasted with my wife and she hasn't fasted, she'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you weren't." She said, "Or eating. I'm sorry, I forgot you weren't fasting. That you were fasting." I said, "Don't. No, eat in front of me.
Right.
Bring the food. I sit here with you as if
Right.
I was going to be eating."
Yes.
Because it is part of it. And it does make it harder whenever you're there around food. You can smell food, and it's like, okay, no, I still am fasting. I'm still putting this aside. again, I just see that as cheaping it, being cheap,
Mm.
just weakening it. It's like, guys, no. Fasting is holy. There's a value to it. It's extremely important to do, but for the right reasons.
Right.
And just to do it to get goodie points isn't the purpose at all.
Yep.
So, well, thank you guys for watching. I wanted to keep this to about an hour for our opening day Ramadan fasting live stream. I will be back tomorrow about 6 o'clock, possibly, depending on if I can work it out with a couple of my guests that I have coming up. But Yusuf, you have something coming up tonight, don't you?
We do. Actually, we have a, unfortunately for most of these who are watching, we have the show in Arabic. So you guys are not going to understand. But tomorrow night, we have an English show with Osama Dakdok. And that's going to be in his channel is The Straight Way of Grace. So yes, if you guys, I don't, do you have a link for his channel?
I don't think I have a link. Phil, can you grab that real quick, or Carol B? Grab that real quick. Put that in the live chat. I'll put that in the comments afterwards.
So
put in
tonight,
the description.
In an hour, actually, we have the Arabic show. And it's more like going through Ibn Kathir's book. It's a lot of laughing. It's, I mean, we try
knowing
our
Usama, it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of laughing, guaranteed.
We
I don't
do
care
our
what he's
best
reading.
to make it serious, but sometimes you cannot. I mean, we keep fighting it until we just, we cannot fight it anymore. The things, I mean, we're just going through creation. It's last week was our first episode, so we were trying to figure out what was created first in Islam, in the Quran, and we couldn't figure it out. Whether it's the throne or the water or the chair or the sky or heavens or earth. So we couldn't figure it out. So it's gonna take us a while until we get to the characters in the Quran, to the creation of Adam. But until we get there, we'll just try to go not necessarily page by page, but we'll try to cover most of Ibn Kathir. So yeah, and tomorrow is the English show. So it's about the it's in the Quran, like we're studying the Quran together, which it's a lot of laughing too. So feel free to show up and ask questions. And
Yep, Usama is always a joy. Love working with him. But go support him there. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the English version. If you like the Arabic, tune in tonight here shortly. Yes, Phil's tomorrow there. Fantastic. Yep. So go ahead and enjoy that. I will be, like I said, probably tomorrow do a live stream, and then I will be back on Monday with 2 live streams. I'll be on with Adam Seeker on his channel, and then after that I will be with Truth Defenders on his channel doing, I think we're actually talking about Isa and the differences between the Christian view of Jesus and the Muslim view of Jesus, as we are going through his series there, just comparing the different cults. When they say, again, making sure we're talking about the same definition, because when a Mormon comes up, like we talked about last time, when a Mormon comes up and says Jesus, that's not the same Jesus as we know.
right.
So we will be diving through different cults and doing that over on his channel. That's Truth Defenders. You can join me Monday for that with him. And as always, thank you to the members. God bless you all. And as always, Dies Volt.